Mystery Men, superhero parody movie, before superhero movies were even a thing, or at least more mainstream. It follows a down-on-their-luck superhero trio led by Mr. Furious, played by Ben Stiller, who wants to be well-loved and respected crime-fighting superheroes, but just can't seem to catch a break. But when the city's real superhero, Captain Amazing, gets kidnapped by supervillain Casanova Frankenstein, played by Jeffrey Rush, it's up to the ragtag blue-collar superhero wannabes to recruit more heroes so they can become a true crime-fighting team in order to defeat Casanova Frankenstein and save the day. In this often funny and even strange and surreal exploration into the open absurdities of the superhero genre. So I say, what the fork? Let's check it out by looking into 10 things that you didn't know about Mystery Men. Let's rock! Wait, that line wasn't in the movie. Number 10. Mystery Men started off as a comic book cameo. Mystery Men's roots go all the way back to the surreal comic book Flaming Carrot Comics, which was created by comic book artist and writer Bob Burden, which focuses on a crime-fighting superhero who, well, wears a giant carrot on his head, of course, and the obscure character has been in publication since 1984. However, it was in 1987 in Flaming Carrot Comics issue 16 that the Flaming Carrot has a flashback to when he founded a ragtag superhero team of other obscure superheroes. Well, this was the genesis of Mystery Men. This lit the spark of a group of blue-collar superheroes trying to make it in the big bad world as crime fighters, often to hilarious consequences. So, I guess it makes sense that something as oddball as Mystery Men could have its origins from a character who has a giant carrot for a head. Number 9. A Dark Horse legend came on board as producer. From 1988 to 2002, the Flaming Carrot comics were being published by Dark Horse Comics. It's here we get to Dark Horse Comics creator Mike Richardson, who also co-created The Mask and Time Cop, among others. Richardson was really keen to make a movie out of this Mystery Men concept and pitched the idea to Universal Pictures, where in 1997 the studio greenlit the project, with Richardson coming on board as producer. Richardson had also worked on movies too, including the movie versions of The Mask and Time Cop, as well as writing Dr. Giggles, well, I wasn't expecting that, as well as Barbed Wire and Virus. He would also go on to write and produce Alien vs. Predator, all the cinematic Hellboy movies, and that Tarzan film which came out a few years ago, which I swear no one watched. Seriously, did anyone watch that? So lucky for the Mystery Men production, he did know a thing or two about making movies, as much as he did comic books. Number 8. Mystery Men was going to be a Danny DeVito vehicle. So the studio wanted to get a big comical star attached to the movie, where Danny DeVito was brought in, who was not only going to star in the movie, but direct it too. And apparently he was going to star as the shoveler character, which I can actually really get behind. However, the plans for Mystery Men to be a Danny DeVito project fell through over the strangest of reasons. The movie's soundtrack, as Danny DeVito and the studio couldn't agree with who should be brought in to do the soundtrack. So DeVito was like, yep, that's it, I'm done. Although walking away from the project was apparently a big deal to DeVito, as he really wanted to make the movie. But no, I guess it just wasn't meant to be. Still, the same year Mystery Men came out, DeVito had memorable performances in Man on the Moon and The Virgin Suicides. I like Danny DeVito. I really do love that little guy. And if it was up to me, I would just let him use whatever music he wanted. Number 7. A commercial director was hired. So another issue facing the production is who could direct this extravagant superhero spoof movie. one that's inventive and visually spectacular, as well as being able to cram all the laughs in there too. Well, the job was given to first-time movie director Kinka Usher. Now, Mystery Men was his first feature movie, and his only feature movie. And he got the job because beforehand he directed commercials for television, where he won a Directors Guild of America award for Best Commercial Director, thanks to directing the Got Milk adverts, as well as the Taco Bell Chihuahua, and even adverts for Pepsi, Polaroid, and other companies. Usher originally found the script of Mystery Men to be boring, but he wanted to focus on the premise of the characters, going against the stereotype that commercial directors, who also direct movies, just do it to add a visual style to them, but also don't really add much story. Nope, he wanted to focus on the characters just as much. Usher did, however, still have a visual style, as he wanted the movie to visually look like a comic book, and I would say he succeeded. However, Usher wouldn't go on to direct any more movies after Mystery Men, which I think is a shame. Number 6. Ben Stiller originally turned the movie down. So not too long after Danny DeVito vetoed out of the production, Ben Stiller was offered to take his place. After all, thanks to There's Something About Mary, Stiller was now in demand. But he turned it down, on the account that he thought that it would be a huge movie to make, what with all the set pieces and special effects that would be required. And at that time, he just didn't want to commit to all that bother. So how did we end up with Ben Stiller? Well, that's because of actress and comedian Janeane Garofalo, who was cast as Carol, aka the Bowler. She managed to track Ben Stiller down and convince him to star in the movie. However, a few changes were needed. He was originally offered to play the Blue Raja, but he didn't want to as he feared of getting stereotyped as the nerdy guy. Once again, just watch There's Something About Mary. He wanted to break the mold and to be Mr. Furious. In the original script, Mr. Furious was angry all the time, and it was more of an actual superpower. But Stiller lessened it down to being more of a nonsense power, and that he's only furious some of the time, as he found it funny that he's the leader of a group of superheroes, and yet superpower-wise, he has the most useless powers. Number 5. Mystery Cast. So we've established that Ben Stiller and Janeane Garofalo were cast in Mystery Men. But what about the rest of the players? After all, Mystery Men really is an ensemble piece, with each actor bringing in their comical A-game. Hank Azaria was cast as the Blue Raja, and when I first saw Mystery Men, I had no idea I was watching 1/3 of the voice cast of The Simpsons. William H. Macy played the Shoveler, and I really love how humble Macy played the part. Kelly Mitchell as the Invisible Boy. Yep, he went from Good Burger to wearing no clothes. Paul Rubens as the Spleen, one of my favourite farty movie characters. Wes Studi as the Sphinx, and this character doesn't get anywhere near as much praise as it deserves, as I've always found him really funny. And then you have Greg Kinnear as Captain Amazing, who I still believe suffers from one of the most disturbing movie deaths ever. Seriously, what's up with that? It's really disturbing for a movie that's not really at all disturbing. Jeffrey Rush was cast as the villainous Casanova Frankenstein. This was actually Rush's first Hollywood movie. Beforehand, he mainly starred in Australian movies. And I can't help but feel like Casanova Frankenstein is an early prototype of his Barbossa character in the Pirates of the Caribbean. And finally, you've got Eddie Izzard as Casanova's henchman, Tony P. According to Wikipedia, while casting was taking place, other actors like Vince Vaughn and Ving Rhames were also offered parts too, but they ultimately weren't cast. Now, I know there are more actors that I didn't mention, as there are so many famous faces that turn up in Mystery Men, and whenever I miss mentioning an actor in a movie I'm making an episode about, some people, not everyone, but some people in the comments section say things like, "You didn't mention this character! This must mean you hate them! What have you got against them? What did they do to you?" Look, if I did an analysis on every actor in this movie and their pet goldfish, we'll be here for hours. And according to my YouTube analytics, my audience doesn't like it if my videos are too long. They get bored and stop watching. Number 4. Filming. Filming for Mystery Men took place around California, particularly Los Angeles and Universal Studios. Mystery Men even supposedly reused sets from Joel Schumacher's Batman movies, which makes sense, as I've always felt that some parts of the world of Mystery Men looks kind of Schumacher Batman-ish. The script was also frequently having changes made to it, in part because of the ensemble cast of comical actors. Everyone wanted their moment to shine and to add their own comedy to their characters, and there were apparently a lot of arguments among the cast over the comedic tone of the movie. In fact, director Kinka Usher said that a lot of the movie was actually ad-libbed, particularly by Ben Stiller and Janine Garofalo. When filming started, Stiller thought that the shoot was going to be a quick and swift one, but was surprised that it actually lasted 6 months. It seems that someone else who was frustrated with how long it took to shoot the movie was the director, Usher himself. According to IMDb, he declared that as soon as the shoot is done, he's going back to making commercials, as it's easier to make 1-minute adverts than to deal with all the nonsense of making movies. And, well, as mentioned, he never directed a feature again, which I actually think is quite a shame. So going by that, I guess Mystery Men broke him. Number 3, the movie's ending had to be refilmed. So it'll seem that Mystery Men wasn't the easiest shoot. Apparently, during the making of the movie, Ben Stiller got into a heated argument with co-star Greg Kinnear, of which, as a result, Stiller tried to get released from the production, but obviously he was unable to break from his contract. So he was stuck in an environment he didn't want to be in. And Janine Garofalo had her own problems. Although she thought the script was a good solid script, during the filming, she felt that that good script became mediocre, which she put down to overly long hours and working with a big budget and with the production being overhyped, which led to the movie being, well, a non-event. She added, quote, "I have no idea what they were trying to do with the film, but they sure didn't accomplish it." So it'll seem that with filming wrapped up, everyone would be happy to go their own separate ways. Except that wasn't the end of it, as during test screenings, the ending was deemed unpopular among audiences. So a new ending had to be filmed, one that had more of a cheerful energy. Despite the fact that, by the sounds of it, some of the cast were anything but cheerful. In fact, it seems there was actually a ton of scenes that were cut from the final film. All of them are available on YouTube, and the final movie itself is already 2 hours long, which is kind of lengthy for an oddball, wacky comedy movie. So this makes me wonder if the original cut was more like 3 hours. That's a lot of Mystery Men. Number 2, Mystery Men introduced us to a classic song. Say what you want to say about the Mystery Men movie, it at least introduced the world to the classic song All Star by Smash Mouth, where it is still very popular to this day and is now frequently used in memes. I remember this music video, which I loved at the time, and I still do. I thought it was really funny and clever how it incorporated characters and scenes from Mystery Men, and it generally is a rocking song. The song itself would reach number 4 in the Hot 100 Billboard charts. Now, All Star would really find its claim to fame 2 years later, when it was featured in Shrek. In fact, I think more people associate the song to Shrek more than anything else. But I say to hell with that. If you go back and watch the original music video, it was all about Mystery Men, not Shrek. But regardless, it's still a great catchy song either way. Interestingly, the song featured in other movies at that time, like the Inspector Gadget movie, the Digimon movie, and Rat Race, and it would even become a popular song to play at sporting events. Yep, it seems that all that glitters is gold when it came to All Star. Number 1, Mystery Flop. Ouch, this is one of those box office disasters that really stings. Like getting a bee sting on your bum kind of stinging. In fact, there was so much sting, Sting himself probably could have sued for copyright infringement. Okay, me being cringy aside, upon being released in August 1999, Mystery Men only made back $33.5 million on a $68 million budget. Yeah, wow. See what I mean when I said that this stings? This was clearly a case of a studio being really sure that their movie was going to be a big hit, so they threw everything at it and the kitchen sink, but it turned out to be a dud. Universal